Welcome to another episode of StewTube, everybody. Bitcoin is looking great in my opinion. Yes, it's been nice and volatile, so I do want to discuss a few different time frames and why I actually just entered a long recently here. Now, as always, I'm treating this position as a scalp first and hoping it turns into a runner, so we'll just see what happens from here. But I just recently entered a long position at 99,544 US dollars. Those of you in the chat can see my entry price, and those of you who have been watching my streams both live and on my YouTube channel know exactly why I'm in this trade. And that is, of course, because of the infamous Stuber fib setup. So just looking at how this structure is, you can see that on this one, yes, this is just a 1 minute. But notice that we fell out of 4-hour resistance, right? I mean, if I pull a fib, technically on the 4-hour has a bearish Stuber fib, right? So I was actually warning on my Twitter last night, and actually in the pro signals, I had mentioned that, you know, I think there's potential to get rejected here. And it's not so much that I'm bearish, guys. I don't want to sound bearish. It's just that, you know, I'm looking at resistance for what it is. You know, we had a breakdown. We get a bounce to that 786, 886 Fibonacci. The thing is, I don't know if this rejection is going to stick or not. We're going to have to see right now. Yes, it does look a little bit concerning, honestly. But what I'm really interested to see is if we do get a third touch of this green trend line. I would really be interested to see what happens there. Now, when I like to, you know, sometimes I do play patterns, you know, pennants, triangles, wedges, whatever you want to call them. The thing is, I don't set blind orders based on them. I only play them if I'm looking for certain reactions. So in this case, I would be looking for some sort of a third test. And at that point, I would zoom in more so to the 5 minute, the 1 minute to really zoom in and see what's happening. Ideally, I would like to see this break to the downside, but be more of a fake out. Now, if this had a third touch point before breaking down, I would actually feel much differently about it. And I would consider that, you know, those of you who have been in a lot of my videos know this, but I like 3 exact touch points of a trend line before it breaks, before I consider that it's actually going to stick and flip from support to resistance, for example. However, being that it hasn't had a third exact touch point yet, what I would like to see is that third touch point be a fake out and then see some sort of a retest and long, that kind of a thing. I think that would be absolutely beautiful. We're going to have to see if I get it or not. Honestly, I have no idea. I was looking at playing a long position the other night. You guys will know I said it in the pro signals as well. I was hoping to see a bigger pullback down towards 92K. And unfortunately, I never got it. Actually, maybe there was another setup as well at one point, and I never ended up getting the full Stuber fib pullback to get my entries. Such is life. You don't always get your entries, but those were ones that I was just watching for. Hey, if they happened, I was going to take them. And that's kind of what I'm looking at for this, is if it happens, great. That's a potential trade setup that I see. So I'm going to have to, basically, I'm going to put an alert on that trend line, and if we get there, I'm going to see what the price is doing when we get there. So that's how I'm going to treat that at this point. But right now, I just have to be aware that we are technically at some macro resistance here, right? Because we're at the 786, tested the 886 basically perfectly just a few hours ago, and seeing a perfect rejection from there. Unfortunately, I missed that. I'm disappointed in myself that I did miss that, because on the shorter time frame, on the 1 minute, we got another one of my favorite trade strategies. After we got very close to that 886, I bring up the trend master and notice we got a lower setting sell signal, which was just signifying that, you know, that's a warning that things are reversing. Right back here, the sell signals and the buy signals were going to the upside, and then that changed. So to have that happen right at macro resistance like that, I really wish that I would have caught that. Even if that's all the move had, I mean, that's plenty of profits for a 1 minute. That's a beautiful breakout play. Unfortunately, like I said, I never got it. But like I said, what I did catch was we ended up getting this break of structure here. Just remove the indicators there. So on the way to the downside here, you can see that we just broke some structure, right? Technically, the smallest one happened right here. But even if you wanted to use more reasonable, more large, I guess just larger size swing kind of a thing, even if you went for that sort of structure, or even a little bit higher. Either way, we broke a bunch of structure on this downtrend here because all of these little bounces, right? So after that structure break, that's where I'm looking for that pullback to the 786, 886. And that was basically pinpoint accurate. Went right to the 786, slightly below, never got my other entries. But that's fine too. I got some skin in the game right at the 786. So far, it's a beautiful entry. I already closed a third of it here because we were getting very close to my 214, which is always my basically my range target. And I always front run that a little bit. So at this green line here, it was right around 100,088, I believe I had my order set at. But yeah, my reasoning for that 214 level is just because I'm looking at this as an opposite 786, right? So if I pull from that resistance of the swing down to where we bottomed out, notice that the 214 just front runs that 786, so it's front running that Stuber fib pocket a little bit. So that's why that's basically my target of the range, because if I was looking to play at the opposite, then it's a sell level just in general, right? Whether I'm in a long position or want to get into a short, either or. But I still think that there's room to the upside. Like, I am not bearish on Bitcoin right now. Like I said, I'm looking for reasons to go long right now, and this was one of them. Just a potential perfect reversal. I was willing to pay myself a little bit, so I closed a third of it at my target, because I always play the range first and then hope for a runner with the rest, basically, right? Because if this is a home run trade, I want to catch it with some with part of my position. I mean, I know a lot of people will say, I don't know if I should close my position or not. Well, have you ever considered closing part of a position, a quarter of your position, half a position, whatever, just something, so that if everything reverses now, if I get stopped out at break even on the rest, at least I paid my fees and I paid myself a little bit before getting stopped out. Whereas if I would have just, rode this whole thing and round tripped the whole thing, then I'm going to be a little bit disappointed, right? So if I'm ever in a position where I'm wondering if I should take profits or not, basically I ask myself, if this reverses and I get stopped out, either take a loss or stopped at break even, whatever. If I'm going to be upset about it, then I should probably think about locking some in or downsizing my risk or whatever, however you want to look at it, right? So yeah, basically that's why I take profits on the way. And that's why I love playing Fibonacci's, because it's very structured, right? Because I have these important levels for my particular trade setup. I'm not saying these fib levels work out every time or anything like that. Even my trade setup, I mean, the Stuber fibs are actually a little bit more than just a 786, 886, because there's those certain structure breaks that I look for, right? And those can be misleading, and they can be easy to misjudge or overlook, and all that sort of thing. So it's just one of my favorite trading strategies. I've been working on it for a long time, and a lot of you guys in the group use it yourselves. Just curious, actually, how many of you guys have played Stuber fibs before? How many of you has it helped your trading? Because the big thing why I like using this as basically a trade strategy is because so often, and myself included, when you see this big structure break, because you just go straight to the upside, you broke so many levels of resistance, it gets very hard not to FOMO into that. Whereas when you play, the thing is, if you FOMO into a breakout like that, I mean, where's your invalidation? It's way down here. If you want to leave some breathing room, then way down here, right? That's a fairly big loss if you're looking at this size of a trade setup, right? Whereas if you wait for that pullback down to these fib levels, well, suddenly the loss isn't so bad, right? Depending on your risk management here, or tolerance more so. So that's my reasoning for using those Fibonacci's, to really wait for those pullbacks, because structure breaks happen all the time. Yes, sometimes those breakouts happen where you don't get the pullbacks, but more often than not, price is going to chop around. It's going to form bigger ranges and that sort of thing. And that's where fibs really come into play. And that's where, like I said earlier, playing the range first and hoping for that breakout after that. So that's basically my reasoning for Fibonacci's. And yeah, I just really like the 786, 886. Those of you guys who have been in my streams, been in a part of the MDX ALGO community for quite some time now, you guys know I basically use these religiously. It's pretty much just the trade setup that I always like to take. So Really not too surprising to see me take a long position there. I'm sure most of you guys knew as soon as I mentioned I took a long. Some of you guys may even be in this position. Has anybody else taken that long based on the same reason? Okay, animator Mark. Um, don't feel like you can use them reliably. So that's kind of where I said I like to have those structure breaks as well. Because a lot of people will just pull Fibonacci's just because, like, hey, here's some swing points. But if you just have some random swing points, like, um, something like this, for example, like I know a lot of people would start looking for those for a lot of people who wouldn't understand the Stuber fib strategy would be looking at this as a Stuber fib, whereas that is not, because there wasn't a break of structure, right? Because the lower high, even on this little micro trend here, our last low was here, lower low here, so this is our lower high, and that structure was not broken. So therefore I don't consider this breaking the highs. That is not the structure break, right? So that's one thing that a lot of people misunderstand when trying to play them, is finding actual structure breaks versus just fib pulls of what you think might turn into a range kind of a thing. So that could be one of the issues, but honestly, everybody looks at everything differently, right? And just because a strategy works for me doesn't mean that it's going to work for other people, and that's exactly why people should back test as well, right? So that's another thing is, whenever you're looking at trading any strategy, like your own strategy, someone else's strategy, anything, whenever you're going to put money behind something, make sure you do some back testing, right? Make sure your eye is catching things the same. Make sure you kind of know your probabilities and that sort of thing. And just by that, I mean just using that replay feature on TradingView, going back to a random place in the chart and just, just playing the chart, have your set of rules written down. And then when all your rules are checked off, if you take the trade and, obviously have your invalidation levels, your take profit levels, and just kind of finding out if it played out or not. So, because we could have the exact same, the exact same trend lines, the exact same indicators and everything, and I guarantee we'd trade this market completely different. And I say that in pretty much all my streams because everybody looks at things differently, right? So backtesting, very important. Just want to zoom out now and kind of, we kind of understand now why I'm in this long position. That got a little long-winded, but I just really like to teach this strategy because a lot of people do find it helpful, and just the more you see them, the more you start to pick them out. Because another thing, actually, sorry, one more, not rant, but just little lecture about them is I only like to take these the first time. Right? So if we would have ended up getting rejected somewhere, like let's say where I took profits here and then ended up coming back down to these levels, I wouldn't have been as interested in taking that long position again. And that's a big part of why people get this wrong a lot of the times too, is because they catch it late, so they don't necessarily catch the first test of it. Because I find so often that the 786, 886 fib level is respected very quickly. It gets a reaction very often when it's the first test of it, whereas if you're going to keep testing that level, then it's more and more likely to break eventually, right? So that's why I only like to take it the first chance. And that's honestly one of the reasons why I wasn't overly bearish on Bitcoin right now, and I'm still not overly bearish on it, even though, yes, that's a Stuber fib rejection on the 4-hour. Yeah, it's something worth mentioning. It's worth taken into consideration for sure, but I'm not overly bearish on it because we already tested it here. We tested it here twice, but I'm considering that the same test because we didn't get the first target of the 0.5 fib until here. Never quite got my 214 target, unfortunately. That would have been those 786 bullish entries I was talking about. But yeah, just since we've already tested the Stuber fibs of this range pull a couple of times, I'm not as bearish as I normally would be with a rejection at this level. So yeah, basically the 4 hour, I would love to see, like I was talking about right at the start of the video, I would love to see us come back down and retest this support level and see how it responds on the shorter time frames. The weekly chart I find quite interesting right now. One thing to watch for is we have this potential reversal warning forming. Now this isn't valid until the weekly candle closes, which would be on Sunday evening. Yeah, that's worth mentioning. I don't know, like, they're still trending to the upside. So not all of these have been all that serious corrections, but even on a weekly chart, yeah, some of these are big corrections, right? Like this last one, it did send Bitcoin down 30%. I know I was quite bearish at those times for other reasons, but you know, we might see another decent correction here. One thing, however, I did notice this trend line recently. Now, I don't want to give this too much credit. I want to be clear about this. I don't think it's necessarily all that accurate just because this is one of those times where I only have those 2 touch points, right? I do have 2 touch points back here. And then technically we flipped it into support right away. We never really retested it as resistance, at least on a weekly time frame. But it is.
Yeah, Stu, your mic definitely went out. I was checking my headset. I thought I was crazy for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Oh, that was weird. All of a sudden, I got a few errors, and it was just like USB device not connected. And then I noticed there was no green box by my name. So sorry about that, everybody. I don't know how long I was talking without that, but basically, hopefully, you guys heard what I was talking about with this upward trajectory trend line. Again, I don't know how much weight I want to give it, but the fact that we did flip it into support right away is interesting. And also, technically, we did set this little higher high. Now, this is when I'm like really micro analyzing a trend and just the very, very immediate swing, right? But technically, we did have this high, and then we had that little pullback, and then we set a higher high. So technically confirming this as a higher low. Now, that's nice to see that Bitcoin actually built some structure on the way up, because basically if we lose that level now, I'm going to have my concerns at that point, and I think we could see a bigger correction, and that's where we might see even retesting this old resistance as support kind of a thing. Like that could call for quite a big correction. But at this point, we don't have that structure break, so I don't really want to entertain that idea too much. But it's just something that I would watch for. But basically, the reason why that is exciting is just that we have a tight invalidation then, right? Because if that structure breaks to the downside, we can start thinking about playing things a little bit bearishly for a while, but we'd have nice tight invalidation, because if we did end up reclaiming that structure, then it would be invalidated and it would be back to bullish structure at that point. But as it stands right now, I love that. I like treating this kind of thing where we end up breaking above levels like that. We're just kind of staircasing higher, and that's just bringing up structure a little bit, right? So I love to see that on the weekly time frame. As well, what I like to see is that the RSI is overbought. I know that scares a lot of people, but generally in bull markets, the RSI is extremely overbought. That's when we have our big moves. We don't really get big moves. Just getting a little bit of feedback here. I'm just going to do some mutey mute. There we go. Yeah, I love seeing that the RSI is in overbought territory, because anytime we get a nice big move to the upside, it is when the RSI is in that territory, right? Everyone thinks this is overbought. I mean, in an uptrend, if this was a bearish trend and we had that kind of RSI, yeah, I would say it's overbought. But in an uptrend, that's just showing, I mean, it's the relative strength index. I say this every video. That's what the RSI means, relative strength index. So the strength is way up here in an uptrend. So yeah, that's just showing a shit ton of buying pressure. So I love to see that we are still in that territory. If the RSI on the weekly drops below that and we see a bearish RSI, something like that form, I will be mega bearish again. Not gonna lie. At that point, I will consider the possibility that the bull market is over, or at least some sort of a serious correction. But at this point, we don't have that. And that's the same thing that I was considering back here, right? I was very vocal about that for months. I was very bearish at this level, and it played out great. You know, that was 8 months that we were in this range here. And a lot of you guys will remember that I was very bearish whenever we got to these Stuber fibs on the macro time frame. I would get very bearish, and then that trend broke, and now I'm bullish again. But that is something that would catch my attention again, and I would be very concerned about the health of the market. But until that happens, I don't really have a concern about this. So I think the weekly looks great. And like I said, 4 hour, yeah, some weakness where you'd expect to see a rejection, but I'm hoping this kind of turns into more of an ascending triangle. Oh. Yeah, just give it one of these. Some sort of an ascending triangle pattern. I would love to see that. So I really want to see what happens if we do drop down to these levels. The 1 minute is pulling back a little bit. We're basically at the same levels where I took a third of my profits off the table. So yeah, I mean, the rest of that position might get stopped out during this stream. We're going to have to see. I want to check out a couple of altcoins, you guys. One, obviously this has been talk in the group today, Trio. Looking beautiful. I actually want to bring up CoinMarketCap. I forget what the market cap is of Trio. Ordinals bought, that's the one. Market cap 3.5 million only. So that's a tiny market cap. So
Hey,
obviously,
Stu.
sorry.
Just on Trio, CoinGecko has it as 8 mil.
8
So
mil?
just there's a bit of a discrepancy
Is
there.
there I don't know.
Yeah, the reporting's just different on CoinMarketCap than it is on CoinGecko. Just
Oh,
something to
okay.
keep in mind. But I just
Okay.
wanted you to know.
Yeah, no, good to know. Thank you. So in that case, the market cap somewhere under 10 million, room for huge growth. One thing to consider though, guys, if any, and obviously not financial advice, do your own research. Obviously the high or the low market caps are obviously higher risk and all that sort of stuff, but obviously high risk, high reward if it plays out, right? But I'm loving what I see here with the indicators. The trend master on the 4 hour, we just have, like I was talking about earlier, right? We just have a series of higher trending buy signals, higher trending sell signals. Every time there's a sell signal, there's a higher buy signal very shortly after, and we just continue going higher. I really see no reason why we wouldn't get back towards this wick kind of closer to $5, even call it 420. That's probably a Stuber fib. That would just be destiny. Let's check it out. Yep. So call it 420 as my target on Trio. But yeah, that's looking beautiful. I mean, even on the daily chart, just look how when we traded from below this trend master indicator until we got above it, I mean, just holding a beautiful uptrend on the daily. And I believe, I can't remember, what is it, December 17th, I believe their marketplace launches. And yeah, so I don't know. I'm not really a fundamental guy. You guys know that about me. I'm more of just a charts guy. But as far as a high risk, low cap altcoin setup, that's one that's I've definitely been accumulating basically since just, I think it was around $1.70, something like that. And yeah, high hopes for that one. Send it. Any other altcoins anyone wants me to look at? I can look at a couple. You know, I'll bring up like Solana. Actually, Ethereum. I want to check out. Actually, before any altcoins, I want to check out the Dixie. What is the Dixie up to these days? I haven't looked at it for a while. The Dixie looks like it. The Dixie looks like it wants to climb. Now, if you're one of those people that thinks that Bitcoin and the Dixie have to move the opposite way, then I would have my concerns about this, honestly. I mean, we are technically at resistance here, but something I want to go over, I'll go over something shortly. I personally think, I mean, I've seen it many times where Bitcoin and the DXY both move together, so they do not have to move the opposite. They could both moon to the upside. Who knows, right? But one reason why I think that the DXY could still climb is, obviously you guys can see I've had this Stuber fib laid out for quite a while on this chart. At this point, you can see it's played out a couple of times already. So basically we broke this structure here, right? Because we had a low, or sorry, that low was actually the same as this one. So we had our low, lower low, the lower high is the highest point between the two, and that was broken. But again, going back to how a lot of people would FOMO into something like that, some sort of structure break like that, again, that's our signal, but the entry is down here for my, you know, for the way that I've trade that setup anyways, right? And look how beautifully that played out. We end up getting up to the 214, even a little bit higher. Actually, probably exactly the 786 pulled the other way. Let's check that. Yeah, right into the fib pocket and then drops, but whatever, the target is the 214. Then we end up dropping and hit that box again perfectly and straight back up to that target. Now this time we are still climbing to the upside, and the thing is, yes, that's my Stuber range target, but the reason why I like pulling that structure break is because the fact that it did break to the upside, even with these pullbacks, momentum is technically to the upside with this structure now. So that's where there's more of a chance that the position's going to keep running, right? And my second target, if it's going to keep running, would be the bigger swing from the opposite end, looking for that same Stuber fib, right? So if that does happen, then that means the DXY could be taking quite another leg to the upside relatively soon. This is the daily chart. It would take a while to play out, but that's basically what I would look for at the next target. So, I mean, that could really moon. And I mean, like I said, Bitcoin and the Dixie can move the same direction, but often they do move the opposite, so it depends what your belief is on that. Just a little bit of a red flag is all. Another thing I wanted to look at was Bitcoin dominance. I mean, this thing absolutely dropped off a cliff, and then we did see altcoins went a little nuts, and I would love to see this keep dropping, honestly. If Bitcoin is going to retrace the whole move, and I don't mean by price. Actually, the fact that the price has held up so well while all the focus is off of Bitcoin because the dominance is dropping, right? But the price is still holding very great. So that's a very good sign, in my opinion, of a healthy market. The fact that, you know, those profits can move around, the market isn't really getting spooked. It's just, you know, dips are getting bought and people are willing to diversify into riskier assets and that kind of thing. I mean, I'm talking about coins that are less than a 10 million market cap, right? So you can just tell that people are turning up their risk factor now. And we see that with Bitcoin dominance dropping. So, I mean, if Bitcoin dominance is going to do a full move to the downside, not saying this has to happen at all, but it's just a potential thing to watch for. And this doesn't, you know, just because this Bitcoin dominance drops down here, that does not mean that I am bearish on Bitcoin or anything, right? That just means that focus may be off of it, and if the price is still holding its own, I mean, altcoins are probably going nuts in that case, right? So I would love to see this continue dropping because we could get a very nice altcoin cycle, altcoin season, if you will. Yeah, let's check here. Let me just double check on a couple messages here. CWIF. What time frame are you thinking? For those of you who have altcoin requests, just let me know what exchange you're looking at and the time frame, just so we're on the same page. CWIF. Oh boy. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's got a serious downtrend on the daily, but That could be a beautiful double bottom. I mean, I'd rather be buying at a double bottom level with an invalidation of some kind rather than buying FOMOing into these pumps, right? Um, Actually, okay, this is going to be very micro analyzing, but just to show you guys how much I start to see these now. On just this very micro little move here. Technically, we had this low, right? Because bottom of my green candle, and we did set a lower low. We end up, that would be the highest point between the two. We break that structure to the fib pull. Never quite hit it, but it got very close to the 786. All right, I jumped the gun a little bit, but you can see it got damn close. But love to see this. So it's not quite a double. Yeah, I'm definitely considering that a double bottom. Beautiful. Yeah, you know what? That doesn't look so bad to me. I know nothing about it. I don't know anything about the fundamentals or nothing. So if it's a dead project, if it has no volume, like, I don't know, it could absolutely just dump off a cliff. But on the daily, I mean, it's definitely at double bottom territory. Let me just zoom in a little bit. 4 hour kind of looks the same. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That looks like it's trying to form some sort of a nice rounding bottom, right? What can I find as far as like maybe a random trend line? I do like exact touch points. I would really like to see the price break that. You know, if we could end up breaking that and flipping that resistance into support, I think that would be beautiful. But yeah, support is support until it's broken. And this just, I mean, even on the 4 hour, looking at this as sort of a range. I mean, you're at the support levels, right? So I'd rather be buying support rather than it FOMOing into resistance. So that doesn't look so bad to me. Phantom. Yeah, actually, I did want to check out FTM. Binance on the 4 hour. What do we have here? Sorry, I just want to zoom out a little bit first. I mean, obviously we have this big structure break on the daily. Something to consider with that is that, you know, there still could be a big pullback and it would still be bullish in my opinion, but there's always that possibility that if the market does kind of shit itself a little bit and have a bit of a panic moment, I mean, don't be surprised if we see those levels, but I think that's more of a buy level rather than a panic level. Zooming into the 4 hour, my one concern with this would be, obviously it looks like we may have, well, we obviously lost this low here. Let's get our pullback. And there's our 786 rejection. So there is that bearish Stuber fib there. But we're very close to the first target, right? I mean, after if the 0.5 fib gets hit, I mean, maybe that's all the move had, because that would be my first target. So if this is going to turn into an uptrend again and blast through these highs, then I think, you know, it obviously has a good run on its side. It has good momentum at this point. It's just that technically there was that structure break and there is that 786 rejection following it. So something to consider, but again, not necessarily the end of the world. If anything, you could also technically look for a bullish setup on this. I'm not sure I would necessarily FOMO in at this kind of a level. But technically, you know, breaking some structure like this, we broke that. I mean, I like to think that it would have good support kind of from that $1.07 to $1.03, $1.04, even right down to $1. Honestly, I think there would be good support there. If we lose those lows, then I think it's very possible that it's actually forming a little bit of a downtrend, because we would have, a new lower low set. Then we would have to consider, if you're looking at a leverage play, I'd be looking at, waiting for some sort of a bounce to resistance to kind of short the retest type of thing. But I don't think there's all that much reason to panic in the market yet. It's just good to be aware of those resistance levels with those structure breaks, right? Because it's very likely that you're going to, like I said, the first reaction, right? Notice that after we broke that structure, after we have our bounce, it's that initial reaction. Like, now I wouldn't be interested in shorting this if we get back up here, right? Again, kind of going to one reason why a lot of people struggle with those is I think a lot of times when they're not seeing it fast enough, they're trying to play it when it's already happened. So we might get this, hit the first target already, and then come back up here. I'm no longer bearish at this level because the play already happened. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Like I said, we're at resistance right now, but I would love to see a retest down at these levels, honestly. Oh, Stock Poker. Welcome back, brother. Sorry, I'll go back up through a few more. Yeah, just Stock Poker caught my eye there. Do you have an opinion on XRP stablecoin RLUSD? Some crazy FUD from XRP Moon Boys, like XRP going to take over BTC FUD. Yeah, I know. XRP's always thought, or XRP Moon Boys have always thought that it's going to take over the banking system and all this shit. I don't know. You know me, I'm not a fundamental guy. I think that's a bunch of hopium. I don't know. I have no opinion about it, honestly. I know nothing about their stablecoin. I don't really follow XRP other than I was shorting it recently when we tested the weekly Stuber fib. I actually want to look at XRP now. I know it has been bouncing nice. I know it's been performing great, you guys. Like, I'm not saying that it's not. I don't know. In my opinion, its big moment in the sun was in 2017. This isn't the right one. Bitstamp, that's got to be the one. Yeah, so it never even broke all-time highs. Just notice, you guys, you know exactly where I'm going with this already, but notice where we got rejected, and notice exactly where all the hopium bullshit came out on Twitter when everyone started posting a bunch of just ridiculous. I'm gonna get myself worked up here. God, sorry if you're an XRP Moonboy, but I get very upset by seeing the ridiculous posts about it and the ridiculous targets and stuff like that. The market cap is so high already. It's not doing 1,000x or whatever. It's not going to $10,000. But notice where all those posts started was literally, and I was warning about it on my, here, I want to go and see if I can find it here. Here, yeah, I was posting about warning about XRP literally right at the top. Everybody, so many people on Twitter, so many influencers start posting the XRP is going to whatever, right at the top. Right when I posted this, look where we were. Just approaching the 886 there is where I threw out my stern warning about XRP here. And look where we ended up topping out. And notice that the weekly candles did not close above the 786. Even this weekly candle is struggling right at the 786. That is an ugly looking chart in my opinion. Yes, if we end up closing a higher high here above the 886, I think it will probably carry on at that point. But I just am not the type of person who likes to FOMO in at the exact trade strategy that I would be playing from the other side, right? If this was a 5-minute chart or a 1-minute chart or anything like that, I would have shorted the shit out of this level and this level. That's exactly where I would have had my laddered entries. Meanwhile, you got so many influencers that's exactly where FOMO kicked in. And that's exactly where we saw this rejection. So yeah, maybe that's all the move had, right? I mean, XRP does have a lot of momentum to the upside. I just think it's important to understand how risky it is when something already goes up 400% like this, or what did it go? Yeah, 440% breakout to the upside straight into that Stuber fib pocket like that. Yeah, I definitely had my concerns at that level, and I was shorting XRP for a bit. I haven't now. This week I haven't been. But last week I was having a hell of a time shorting XRP from those levels. It was a lot of fun. How's this position going here? Still good. So far, so good. Still got 2/3 running. I'm hoping to see that bad boy take off. What's the volume delta saying? And we are still above the point of control on the volume delta indicator. Trendmaster, we have a sell signal, but this is one of those times where, you know, we have a higher sell signal, right? This is one of my favorite things to notice with this indicator as well. Let me just delete that here. Actually, even let me get rid of, no, I'll keep that. But one thing I love to notice with this Trendmaster indicator is which way the buy and sell signals are trending. So even though there's a sell signal, yeah, maybe we'll see a little bit of a pullback, but I would more so love to see that we print a higher buy signal, and that would actually give me more confidence in my trade and be willing to hold on to it for longer, basically, until all of a sudden that changes directions, right? If we print, and this is a way that I like to use the indicators as risk management as well, you guys, because I think a lot of people focus so much on using indicators to overtrade, force trades, you know, just forcing entries on trades, but they can be used for so much more, like risk management in this case. If we end up printing, you know, another buy signal, for example, and then we do print a lower sell signal, at that point, I'm going to take it as a warning on my position, and I'm going to at least reduce the size of my position at that point. I am going to take more profits off the table, even though I never got the runner that I was hoping for. It's just a little, it's not necessarily that, hey, I am going to be bearish now. It's just that, hey, you know what? I'm in a position. This is a little bit of a red flag. You know what? Maybe I should take a little bit off the table. Honestly, probably my favorite way to use a lot of the indicators. That and just noticing which way things are trending, right? It's just a nice second opinion to have that. Yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell when things are in a strong trend, but it's really helpful to help, just to help spot a shift in which way the trend is heading when you get things like this. Like even the fact that we did have a higher sell signal, and even though we never had a higher buy signal, we did have this warning that the sell signals were starting to trend to the upside, and our next buy signal was absolutely beautiful. You know, if you were taking entries when we were getting close to this buy trend, that did turn into a beautiful scalp on the 1 minute, right? I gotta go back up here and check some more altcoin requests here. LTC. I heard that LTC now identifies as a meme coin. Is that true? You know, it found nice support there. Not gonna lie, on the weekly chart here. I haven't looked at Litecoin in probably literally years. But I mean, it held a beautiful support line. If anybody was watching it at the time, I mean, that would have been a beautiful entry anywhere along that support trend line on the weekly. That's very similar to what I was looking at on Eng actually a few weeks ago. Eng is still one of my altcoin holdings because it had very similar structure to this, honestly. Just kind of getting that flat line of support on the weekly time frame. And then on top of that, you know, we did have these tight ranges. If you zoom into the daily, we had these nice tightly coiled up consolidation. Even something like this, if you're looking at the daily, we had this low here, lower low here, our lower high here. Let's just make a little array here and just look. After we ended up breaking that, we just continued setting higher high, confirmed higher low, higher high, confirmed higher low. So just still beautifully uptrending here. There is this little bit of a warning here that we lost this structure here, so we might pull back a little more, but honestly, when I zoom out and looking at the weekly and stuff, I mean, if Bitcoin dominance is going to continue to drop and altcoins are going to keep running, I mean, I see no reason why Litecoin would be any different. I just want to see what the Trendmaster's saying on the 4-hour here. Yeah, so this is another one of those times. Yeah, technically we have a sell signal. Maybe we're going to pull back a little bit. But it's obviously we had a massive change to the upside in structure here. And I just wouldn't be surprised at all now if we see a higher buy signal come in on the 4-hour. I want to see if the daily has anything like that. Oh, God, that was a beautiful signal. Yeah, that's another thing, guys, like what I was looking at on Trio and stuff earlier. I've used this indicator and this exact thing looking for, higher buys. This is basically a double bottom, but I think it's actually technically very slightly higher. Whatever, double bottom. Looking for those confirmations on altcoins on the 4-hour and the daily has called some massive calls in the altcoin market, especially some low cap coins. And that's where, like we were talking about with Trio, for example, this one doesn't even have on the daily, it doesn't even have a signal yet. But like I said, on the 4-hour, just a beautiful trend of buy signals to the upside and just absolutely flying. So even from where we got this higher buy signal here, like I was saying, higher sell, right? Followed by a higher buy signal here and just buying along that trend. Look at that. Beautiful. 83% move to the upside. Actually slightly higher. When it topped out, about 87%. So beautiful run so far. And as long as those are trending to the upside, I mean, that's a very good sign of a trend. And I love using that on, whether it's Bitcoin, altcoins, not many meme coins, because depending what exchange you can look at your meme coins on, obviously, but yeah, beautiful trends there. Let me just catch up here a little bit. It's worse than opium. It's retarded. Going back to the XRP statement, yeah. Is that it for XRP this cycle? Honestly, I'm not going to say that, right? I have no idea if that's where it's going to top. I have no reason to think that is a top at this point. It's just, again, it just bugs me to see so many people FOMOing in at resistance. Yeah, if you got into XRP with, there was a beautiful breakout here, like from all-time highs of XRP to, 7 years later, however fucking long it took. Look at this breakout. I mean, just clean and, like I said, like over 400% to the upside. So yeah, if you got into a proper entry on XRP and you're excited that it's going up, I'm 100% with you. The only thing that bugs me is how many people are, getting other people to FOMO in after it's went up 450% and it's at macro resistance. Because you're just going to get people wrecked in that case. Minimum capital required to use your strategy and make accounts do. That's a loaded question because everybody has different ideas of what good money is. And it depends how many you're taking. It depends how many that you're catching runners with. There's so many factors. Because like I was saying earlier, everybody, we can know the same strategies, we can have the same trend lines, we can have absolutely everything, and we'd still play it differently. So your entries can still vary. It depends. Oh man, that's a loaded question. It really depends. That's basically something that you have to test for yourself. But honestly, as always, not financial advice. Do your own research, form your own opinions, but do back testing first. Make sure that you're actually seeing it, you're getting a decent success rate, a good hit rate. You're actually in a structured mindset that you're actually going to take profits, not that you're going to say, oh, you know what, that range was quite small. So I'm not comfortable taking profits yet, and then you get wrecked, and it's like, well, you kind of avoided the whole strategy, right? And I know that can happen with FOMO, that can happen with greed. So it really depends on the person. ZEC, ZEC. I will check that out. On what time frame? What exchange? Actually, oh boy, that's another one, right? That's the thing, guys. With Moon Boys, with XRP going absolutely ballistic these days. This is the part that is insane to me, is that so many charts are at support levels. You know, even something like this, yeah, it's had a nice little run to the upside, but look how low that is in the structure in the grand scheme of things, and look at this nice you know, this tight resistance level here. Like, that's a fairly big range, because that's a weekly time frame. We end up breaking that, and that's starting to go to the upside. Like, that looks, honestly, that looks beautiful, and I would way rather be buying again, not financial advice, I myself would way rather be buying coins like this that are at support and just breaking their structure level, rather than they broke their structure level and they are right at resistance, right? I know nothing of this project. Again, maybe it's a dead project. I know nothing about it. But as far as the structure goes, I mean, basically, the reason why I'm, you know, shitting on XRP right now is because I will say the exact same thing. If this thing gets up here, that's not the point where I'm going to be telling people to FOMO into this thing. That's not what we do. That's where you're taking some profits, even if you're not closing your whole position. That's where you're taking some profits, because we're getting to some very serious resistance at that point. Honestly, I'd be taking profits before that, but that's very serious resistance on this weekly chart, and that's where XRP is right now, and that's why I keep going back to that. But on a macro time frame, I mean, this looks good to me. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's check out the daily. Just going to remove my drawings. Let's check a few indicators. There is this little bit of warning. We're starting to see some divergences on some indicators on the daily here. Trendmaster, what's the old Trendmaster saying? We still have support here. So yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, there's some warnings here, but those warnings might just be those small pullbacks. I think momentum is very much so to the upside, and like I said, as far as the longer time frames go and stuff, as long as the market keeps acting in a healthy way, then this is the type of structure I love to see. Oh, grass. Yeah, I'll check out some grass. Oh, it's on a bunch of things, hey? And yes, I did buy some right after last stream when you suggested it. Look what we have here on the 4 hour. We have a bearish divergence on the stable coin indicator. Trendmaster, that's where we have that higher buy signal right now. Higher buy signal right on the trend of the 4 hour of the Trendmaster there. I love to see that. I mean, that's yeah, I really like to see that. Let's turn that off. If I were a betting man, and I definitely am, I would say that that was probably a Stuber fib setup. Yeah, look at that. See, again, that's why I love that first test of the 786 886, because after we broke this downtrend, right, had this downtrend here, we end up breaking this. And that's when I just start chasing the price with a fib, right? And yes, this fib is changing as the price is changing, right? Like, first my fib's like this, and as it's climbing higher, yeah, that just means that the range I'm looking at playing is growing. And then it eventually dropped. We got that 786 retest absolutely perfectly. Target 1. Target 2 never quite hit yet. Maybe we'll hit it, maybe we won't. I always front run those fibs a little bit. I don't think I would have quite hit my target there if I would have been looking at selling that kind of a thing. This is one, I'm just holding a small bag of this. It's just for funsies, and I'm not worried about, you know, selling it or anything at this point. But beautiful 786 entry there if anyone caught that. Arc M. Ooh. Trendmaster. Still technically higher trending buy and sell signals. I don't like that we dipped as far as we did there, honestly. Something to watch for if this bounces now. Obviously, we have this structure break, right? Pretty hard to ignore that. So if we do end up bouncing here, I mean, there's a potential short setup.
Yeah, you stole it right out of my mouth. I was looking for exactly that because of how low we dipped.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna be looking for resistance right at that 786, 886
Yeah,
area.
I see a very realistic chance at a bearish Stuber fib there. Now, something to consider there. Again, the overall trend still obviously to the upside. The market's in a very healthy place, if you ask me, overall. So, you know, maybe we would only drop to the 0.5, for example, and then find support early. Like, who knows, right? Or if we just start, you know, if we do get up here, see that rejection, and we just start breaking structure to the downside, but all of a sudden we end up breaking that trend, something like that, all very theoretical at this point. But at that point, I would also consider that, hey, this move might be ending a little bit early here, just because there is that immediate structure break, right? But as it stands right now, yeah, I think a bounce might be short-lived if it does bounce up here. I agree with you on that. ENA, I will check out ENA on the 4 hour. Athena. First thing I notice is there is a Stuber fib play at hand right now on the 4 hour because we lost this structure, right? Because we had our higher high. Again, micro analyzing, I know, but I'm just looking for those pullbacks in the immediate trend, right? So that's our confirmed higher low. We end up breaking that, and that's where I would start pulling my fib. And that's where, yeah, we went higher than the Stuber fib. We did go higher, but it never got invalidated, right? My invalidation is always just a little past my 115. And I'm more so into the idea of I just more so start my entries at the 786, so it'd be more so something like this. And if anything, I would have, well, on a typical, if I was looking at that as a Stuber play, I would have hit all 3 of my laddered entries. That would have been absolutely perfect. But the thing is, yeah, I mean, the first target's getting quite close already. So we'll have to see what happens there. I'm very curious, actually, does the ALGO master pick up? Oh, that actually pulls a much bigger bullish fib. So that's another thing, right? Sometimes I like to pull up the ALGO masters, Stuber fibs, the auto ones. So often we look at the exact same thing. And honestly, something like this, I totally see what it's going for here. But again, we still do have this bearish one, which could technically just end up pushing us to the bullish one that the indicator is calling for and get something like that. You know, if this bearish structure break is going to have any follow through, basically, that's a very reasonable target at that point, coming down to this purple pocket here. So something to watch for there. Yes, obviously momentum's to the upside, but I just want to be clear, there is that bearish structure break that could just lead to some issues, right? Even if it's just for the short term.
Would you mind looking at it from a day perspective, on a daily
right.
time frame?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just thinking about it for a little bit longer term, like holding it for next, say, 3-4 months.
So, I mean, technically the daily never lost that structure, right? Because that same type of structure on the daily would be more so something like that. And we actually respected that as support from the opposite side. You know, that doesn't look so bad in my opinion. Some things are, again, we're starting to see those bearish divergences on the stablecoin indicator. The RSI is a little bit concerning to me. The Wave Master does look a little bit overextended. The Trend Master still has a nice trend there. But that is a little bit lower. So, I mean, we could still, even if it is going to find support, I mean, it could still technically drop to like 77 cents, something like that on the daily. But if it drops that green box there, I would start to have my concerns there as well. But I mean, momentum's obviously to the upside, right? It's just, again, just looking for those structure breaks. If the daily loses that box, I would have my concerns. The 4 hour, I already have a few, but I mean, it actually, something I want to check now that I have this indicator up here. Notice that the buy trend of the trend master lines up right at the first take profit of the Stuber fib play, which would be right around $1, really. So it might find support relatively quick. If it loses that, then at that point I would start to consider the fact that we're going down to those lower levels. But as it stands right now, I mean, it has potential support here. Just understand that we were at resistance here. That first test, it's totally expected that it would get shut down the first time. Honestly, even another rejection at resistance here, I would actually prefer to see it, because I would like to see it kind of build up, right? See some pressure build up, get that third touch point of resistance, and then break and flip it to support. In that case, I think it's in very good hands. Just right now, just understand there is some red flags on the 4 hour, but momentum is still technically to the upside. So again, that daily box drops, then things look a little concerning to me. But
Perfect. Thank you.
You betcha. Max has been spotted in the UK. Hey, he's been spotted in here too. Hey, Max. Happy travels. Hopefully it's warmer there than it is where I am. Fucking minus 36 degrees Celsius today. Hund. Is that on TradingView? Yes. You say we are in a Stuber fib. Let's check out the daily here. Naked chart. I assume you are looking at something like so. There is the possibility we pull back a little bit further. I also wouldn't be against pulling right from our bottom here. So there still is the possibility that we drop a little bit further. But I can see why you would pull from here, right? Because this is basically where our order block would be. Yeah, basically anywhere between now and down around 67 or 0.67 cents or whatever that would be down at the 886 here. I could see us dropping a little bit lower, but just something to consider there. Again, know nothing about it or anything, and I'm actually very curious. Again, going for a diagonal pull. I don't treat these religiously or anything like that. I would like to see a third exact touch point before a breakout of that. That could be a massive breakout if something like that happened. And there's a lot of what ifs between now and then, obviously. That would take a while to play out. But that could lead, depending how fast it played out, that could lead to a massive breakout. But yeah, I would say we're getting very close to support here. Somewhere around there. Yeah. Well, that order block lines up perfectly in the 786, 886, right? So I would say we could drop a little bit further yet. But yes, it's getting near support. Well, thanks for stopping in, Max. Get some rest. Cyprus still cold? I doubt Cyprus is cold right now. 8 degrees. That's not cold. That's t-shirt weather. And honestly, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up too here. I mean, actually, well, is there any last minute requests? Any last minute charts that anyone wants me to check? We have been going for over an hour here, so I am starting to get the tummy rumbles here.
GME, brother.
Oh, Sam, welcome back, my dude.
Hey. How's everybody doing?
I think we're all doing fantastic, and I think I know what you're gonna want to request.
What's that?
Maybe a couple shitties here.
Yeah, just the little GME, man.
I'll check out some GME.
I haven't looked at it today, so.
All right, I took a little nibble on GME today.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, okay, guys, here is where I really got to do the disclaimer here. I want to be clear about something. When I play meme coins, I know a lot of people make a lot of money in meme coins. I would say that I typically lose money in meme coins, but they're fun, and I treat them basically like when I'm out at a bar and playing at the VLT. It's you know, I am not going into these with size, quite honestly. I treat these as 100% gamble. But that being said, I did pick up a little bit of GME here just because, you know, the whole GameStop scenario in general is just entertaining to be a part of. And why wouldn't that be a meme that could be a thing in the crypto space, right? So as far as the daily structure goes, I mean, we're kind of staircasing higher, right? We had these tighter consolidation levels. And even back here, look, even the shitties. We get this structure break. We break out of this little range here on the daily. And look where we pull back to, 786, absolutely perfect reversal there. So far, it's just kind of staircasing to the upside, right? Totally depends, again, the health of the market. And I mean, these things are obviously super high risk, but there is over 50,000 holders on this one. The market cap is 37 million. So, I mean, it's well established. It actually has price history. Because the big thing with the memers is a lot of people want to get into them day one because, yeah, you see those, oh, this is up 20,000% today, or this is up 100x, whatever. Yeah, it does happen, but more often than not, they rug very quickly. So I would personally rather get into the ones that still have a community and have some price structure to them, right? So there's at least something there. So it's less than 100% gamble, more like a 95% gamble. But yeah, that one, you know, quite flatlined here, really. Yes, it's staircasing up slowly, but fairly flat. But really all it takes is Roaring Kitty posts something and instantly this will get one of these explosive pumps to the upside again. Take some profits and then do it again. And honestly, the one I've been doing that with recently, this guy, this one I've been randomly pointing this one out in the group for I think the last 2 months or so. I caught like an 80x on it the one day, but yesterday I after it did the 80x long ago, or that would have been this one, I believe. Oh man, these coins that have low market caps and low volume, the chart looks different on different time frames. This wick was a lot higher, but caught a massive pump on that randomly the one day, so sold a bunch of it. It dropped like 95% within an hour. I just bought a small bag again, and then randomly yesterday I noticed that it was pumping again, so it was doing that thing. So this one had, what is this, a 10x in a 1 hour candle, I think it was. And then I bought a little bit back on the pullback, and then it randomly just pumped again today. So like a 10x yesterday, a 5x today. I mean, these things are so volatile, some of them, but I would never put serious money behind something like this because you're just asking for a world of pain if you do. Basically flatline for months and then just randomly pops. But that's what a lot of them do, and that's what I'm expecting GME to do someday, so we'll see. Yeah, that's really the only one I've been. Luigi? Oh yeah, we got a Stuber fib on Luigi. Again, really high risk, low in morals, but Luigi here did have this little structure break on the 1 hour, followed by this Stuber fib pullback. We'll see what happens. I assume it's going to get rugged or just continue selling off, slow bleed, whatever. Still a $9 million market cap, but I think it was at 50 or something. Oh, meme coins. They're fun, but they're a gamble.
Stu, you got time for one more?
Yes, I do, sir.
Beast. Mr. Beast's coin. It's on base.
It's the old base. Beast. This one.
Yeah.
Is it that one?
Yeah. Believe so. No, it isn't that one. It was the one below it.
That's Solana.
No? Okay. Sorry, I'm on my phone. I can't see too well. Let me see.
You know, that's my one biggest complaint about doing meme coins is you can think that you get into one, but there's like 10.
You got to be very careful. This is a valid point to bring up, man. More than ever with shitty coins, you have to make sure that you're getting the right coin.
Yep.
Like double check.
Yep.
Usually the market cap, not to help people buy shitties, but usually the market cap, the daily activity will give you the answer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the liquidity and the volume and everything. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Like this one was up 44% today, but that's just regular Ethereum, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure which one.
That's all right.
Not this one.
No, the one I'm talking about is down 3.37% on the day.
3.37. There's one that's down 3.4.
Yeah, maybe that's it. The insignia is mostly blue with a little bit of
Oh, that's the same one I was just on. Well, struggling.
Oh well.
Yeah.
We tried.
We did try. We'll figure it out later behind closed doors.
Huh.
After a safety meeting. Man, Trio's looking good. That was a nice little 4-hour candle there. Up to about 320. Nice. That is running nicely. Bitcoin on the 1 minute. Oh, see, how do I feel about this? I did get that lower sell signal, but I also have a higher buy signal yet. You know what? Being I have taken some profits off this position, I'm letting her ride. I am going to live dangerously. Because they're not lining up. We still have higher buys, lower sells. There's a little bit of confusion there. I'm guessing we're going to print a new buy signal slightly higher within a couple minutes here.
Come on, Asia.
Yeah.
It's about time. About that time. Trading with the Asians.
I want to sing a song, but I won't. But don't you know you've got to.
Yep. Yeah. The old Mojo cheer.
Thanks for joining in, Stock Poker. Peace out, brother.
Little OG reunion again.
Yeah. So there's another buy signal. Kind of canceling out that lower sell signal, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm just going to ride that. Do I put my stop loss to break even after TP1? It really depends how I feel on the position, honestly. Because this one, technically, I waited until I got to TP2 here, which was actually my first take profit in this scenario. I never did TP at the 0.5 fib, but that was a risk I was willing to take. Instead of closing a quarter here, I closed a third up here. So like at this point, yeah, since I started paying myself on this position, I did update my stop loss, especially the fact that I was going to do this stream here and just get sidetracked and start looking at memers and altcoins and stuff like that. So I wanted to protect myself. It really depends how I feel. You know, if I'm going to bed or anything like that, yes, obviously I'm going to update my stop loss. If I'm more bullish on the longer term, I'm more likely to try and leave it in a case like this. Like right now being we broke structure to the upside again, I really don't want to see us come back down this low again. So I'm just leaving my stop loss down here. I would actually even consider laddering out a bit of a position. Sometimes like when I get into positions, just like what I was talking about with taking profits, if the position's going with you, often I will do it the opposite where like in this case, I am actually considering right after ending this stream, just setting a partial stop loss just below the structure down here, just to make sure that I do lock some more in. Just because, you know, I like to ladder into positions. I like to ladder out of positions. And honestly, if we have that structure break, yeah, it's a little bit of a warning and it's just a 1 minute scalp anyways. So I'm okay closing that position quickly. But as it stands right now, my stop loss is break even right now. Usually, if I'm a little uncertain about a position, then I will very quickly update my stop loss to break even, like when I hit my 0.5 fib. Almost every time after I hit my 214 fib, I will update my stop loss at that point, because that's a decent move at that point, and I don't want to take a loss when I've already got my entire range play had happened. It depends how I feel on the market as a whole. Sometimes I do re-enter on Stubers. Again, it really depends how I feel on the market, or like especially on longer time frames, like a 4-hour Stuber fib. Yes, I'm very likely to re-enter on it more, but in that case, I'm zooming in on smaller time frames and still looking for structure breaks and just those added confirmations, kind of a thing, or you know, divergences on the RSI or the indicators just pointing something out. You know, there's so many things. Every trade setup's different, and there's so many different things that can be used as confluence, right? Do I do my own TA on TradingView and manage positions on TradingView too, or direct on exchange? So I do my trading on the exchanges, but whenever I'm looking at TradingView, if I'm in especially if I'm in a position, I will be looking at the chart that I'm actually in, because the prices can vary. Like on Blofin, quite often the price of Bitcoin will be $100 higher than most other exchanges or whatever. In that case, I want my stop losses, my take profits, and everything. I want to be playing the chart of the exchange that I'm trading, because especially when you're using high leverage on shorter time frames, you know, $100 can make a big difference on those orders. So considering API in Blofin to TradingView and doing it from there, but it's hard to deal with TPs, etc. Yeah, I've never done it. Honestly, I've never traded directly through TradingView. I've always just traded on exchange. It still looks like we're going to the upside here. Love to see it. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, guys, I am getting hungry here. I think I'm gonna go make myself.
Likewise. I'm out. Peace.
Yeah, thanks for joining again, Sam.
Cheers.
Thank all of you guys for joining. Both those of you who are new here, if you're new here, welcome, and thank you for checking me out here. And for those of you who keep coming back, thank you. Always appreciate having you guys here. Love talking through my own thoughts. Really helps me keep a level head. And hopefully you guys are picking up some useful tips and tricks, even if it's, you know, maybe I just say something that helps you, that just makes something click on a strategy you're already working on or something like that, right? I mean, doesn't necessarily have to be what I'm looking at. And honestly, I know I'm often looking at the 1 minute and stuff like that, but structure is structure. Doesn't really matter on the time frame. Just things obviously take longer to play out on longer time frames, but the structure generally acts somewhat the same. So even though, yes, sometimes my strategies I'm looking at shorter time frames, I still look at swing trade opportunities with basically the same sort of things, right? So that's why I'm still looking at the 4-hour fibs and stuff like that, because I basically treat them the same. But yeah, anyways, legends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So hopefully you found this stream useful. For those of you watching this on my YouTube channel a little bit later, if you are interested in joining the MDX Algo community and gain access to my favorite indicators on TradingView, there is a link down below which gives a 10% discount on checkout. I'm personally doing most of my trading on Blofin, a no KYC exchange. There should be a link down below for that as well, for those of you who need a new non KYC exchange or just want a backup exchange in general. I have maxed out the trading fees cashback on that, so you actually get 20% of your trading fees back in your funding account when using my link to join Blofin. So yeah, thanks again so much for those of you who joined. For those of you watching this on my YouTube channel, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.